gas grenades or grenade launcher grenades, 40 mic style. So I kind of want to talk about why I like them, what I use them for, what they're good for, and I'll also show you sort of how they work, and the disassembly process of getting into them, fixing leaks, service and maintenance, that kind of stuff, and also a little trick that I've picked up on BB retention within the grenades. So I've found that a couple of them have an issue every so often, and I found a way to improve it. So let's get started. So why do I like them? Well, obviously they're great fun. They make a big loud bang. It's a surefire way to hit multiple targets quickly, particularly in CQB, which is what they're good for. CQB, close range sort of stuff. Anything beyond 10 meters and you may as well forget it. The spread's so much and the power dissipates so quickly that they're useless beyond that, really. But anything from sort of 5 to 10 meters in a CQB scenario, they're great. You'd probably be right up to 15 maybe, but yeah. But they're really fun. They're great. I use them in a small launcher like this, but I've seen multi-barrel. I've seen underslung, and variations of this as well. Also, if you pick up a launcher like this, it's like 40 quid. So it's quite one of these and a grenade, and you're talking maybe 50, 60 quid. So you've got something to play with quite quickly that's a bit of a laugh, for not a lot of money. So let's take a look at how they work. So starting with one of these, they're quite basic, really. BBs go into these sort of barrels, for lack of a better term. You fill the gas up in here. You then load it into your grenade launcher. Pop it down. Close that. Pull the trigger, and then what the trigger's doing is pressing that in, which expels the gas from the BBs. So it's quite straightforward, really. Now, there are different types. Obviously, there's this sort of multi-barreled one, and there's also this kind of open cap shower style. Fills are slightly different. It fills from the bottom. This one fills from the top, or bottom top, depending on how you look at it. But the principle's the same. Gas and BBs get flung out the front end, either through lots of barrels or through one big open bore one. Now, in terms of these two styles, there are others like tag launchers and things, but I'm not going to go into that today. But in terms of these, the general principle is, with this one, you pour BBs in, and then you put a foam cap. Now, you can buy these, they're nicely round, but I make my own with a bit of foam. You kind of wedge them in the top, all the way round. There's like a little lip in here, that retains them. You fill it up with gas, and then off you go, and that's how those ones work. For these ones, you take a speed loader, and you have to load them in each barrel, one by one, and fill them up. I think it's like 60 BBs or something like that, I forget. Might be a bit more than that, actually. Might be close to 100. A lot of BBs go in one of these. They're good fun. But yeah, you fill them all up, and then again, same principle, button, release, gas comes out along with the BBs, but with these ones it shoots through the barrels. Now, with this one, it's very much a case of fill it up, put a cap on. With these ones, you have got a few options in that you can change the spread and output a little bit with them by putting more or less BBs in them. And I suspect the same with this one, but I think it's more noticeable with these. I tend to just fill them because I'd rather have a big spread, but I think you can make them come out at higher pressures or lower pressures depending on the volume of BBs you put in. yeah, so that's kind of how they work. In terms of getting into one, it's really easy. So you just take the top end and the bottom and unscrew, and you'll see there's an O-ring seal here. Now when you unscrew it, just be careful because there is a spring inside, and it can shoot apart. But you can see that it's a ball bearing release system, so that pushing that button up allows these ball bearings to come in, which allows it to drop down with the gas pressure, which is then what releases it. It all sounds very complicated, but it's actually a really simple system. But yeah, so that's how you get into it if something goes awry. In terms of maintenance on these, so you can see already this one's got PTFE tape round here. I've spent a lot of time going through all my grenades one by one, and checking for air leaks or gas leaks, and making sure that they're completely sealed so that when I'm on the field I don't get slow leaks or anything like that of gas. Now the main area of leaking is around this O-ring and this thread. Secondary to that is the filler nozzle. Now, like I've done, you can just take some PTFE tape that you can get from most hardware stores, and you just lay it on and wrap it round. Screw it back together, and then I tend to fill it up with gas, have a listen. If I can't hear, dunk it in water or submerge it to see whether there's any bubbles releasing. Just be careful, obviously, with water. There are parts that potentially could rust, so just make sure you dry it off after. And also with the barrels, expel any gas through the barrels it blow dries them basically, if you submerge them in water. So yeah, the first thing I would suggest is PTFE taping all the threads round here. Secondary to that, put this back together, is twofold. One, making sure that this nozzle is tight and sealed, and replacing any O-rings where required on the seals in here or in here. Again, it's quite easy to do. Obviously with this apart, you just slide the O-ring off of that seat, pull it off, and I've bought from Amazon a big pack of a multi-pack of O-rings that you can just replace them with. And yeah, it's quite straightforward to sort of maintain them. Obviously the parts are replaceable in size. They all come apart once you've taken this thing apart. If you're not careful, it all falls apart on itself. So and just looking at this style, principle's exactly the same. You unscrew it down the side, again being careful. Oh, PTFE tape's coming off with it. Yeah, but this one, yeah, there you go. So the springs just come off this time with the housing. It doesn't matter too much. Now you see as well that these are all quite greased up. You want to keep them that way, particularly on the inside. It just allows the metalwork to move a bit more freely when the system's kind of in motion, bearing in mind that obviously the gas expels at quite a high velocity, so having the grease in there just makes sure that nothing breaks. Now I'll take this one apart just so you can see completely how it comes. So you've got a spring, the plunger for lack of a better term, and on this one, yeah, that comes out as well. So that's the tube, that's the stopper for the tube. So on these, and then you've also got the ball bearings that hold it in place. Now with this type, there's a few more O-rings to worry about because of the way the system works. So it fills from the bottom, so the chamber fills up in here with that plunged down in that hole. Plunged up in the hole via the spring, which then pushes against here. Now there's an O-ring on here, and there's an O-ring on the underside as well. Let me just push that back out. Spring. Those two O-rings obviously are another leak path, so you just have to be careful. And again, it could be changing O-rings, etc., just to make sure that there's no leaks. But it's the ball bearings that hold it in place. I'll pop these back in. All these parts can be replaced quite easily. They come apart really, really easily, so there's nothing to be scared of there. Put these back in, and I'll put it back together. Do the PTFE tape. Before I put it back together, I'm just going to put a layer of PTFE tape around this one because it's obviously come off when I've taken it apart previously, so I can show you exactly what to do. So you just take the tape like this, pop it on, just around the bottom like that. Now we just do just over one turn like that will probably be enough for this one because this one wasn't a leaker. And then put it back together like that. Tighten it back up. Now something just to be careful of is not to let the PTFE tape interfere with the O-ring, because then the O-ring doesn't do its job properly. Just put it out a bit like that if it needs to be. And then tighten it up nice and tight. There you go. That's probably why there wasn't a lot in there, because that's quite a tight fit, that one. And there you have it. That's how you put it back together. And that's it really. That's about all the maintenance you can really do on them, is change the O-rings, add a bit of PTFE tape just to make sure it doesn't seal, check the seals and O-rings on here, and that's about it. So next thing to look at, grab a tool from over here, so I use this. For this, what I want to look at is this style in particular. Now I've got a couple here that I've got some BBs in. Now, when I first bought this style of grenade, particularly these red ones, which I think are the new Prol ones, but I'm not 100% sure, I can remember. One of the things to note with these is that the BBs are held in with an O-ring around the top edge here. Now, one of the things I found with the original O-ring on these is it was very weak, quite thin, and didn't hold it very tight, which is fine, but what I want is to make sure that when I'm running around on the field doing this, or if I drop it or something unexpectedly, all those BBs that I spent 20 minutes putting in there with my speed loader don't all fall out. So what I did was I changed the O-ring. Now with this one, it's not going to do it now, but with this one I found that I had that problem. So I will show you how to do it. So what you want is a tool, a sharp sort of implement that you can just kind of scoop the O-ring out with. If you can. It might be a case of pushing it from the inside. What we want to do is get underneath the O-ring and fish it out. Now with the ones that come in it, this is a really easy task, but I have replaced this one already. But because I've got issue with it, I want to replace it again. I mean, you can, there we go, got it. You can, if you want, just throw them away, but I don't like doing that unless so you need to. So there we go. So it's just an O-ring like that. Now I believe it was one of these stretched really far. So what you want is a really tight O-ring that fits in that channel, a bit like that one. So right now, I'll do that. going anywhere. I think that's the right one. So I think I used, that is a 20 by 0.24. So you need an O-ring that will fit into that channel there, that's wide enough. And I think the next one up, if you look, it's really thick, so it won't go down into that channel. And all it is in here, there's little slots in the side of the barrels, so the O-ring protrudes into the barrels, stopping that. So when you thumb them in with your speed loader, it's fine, they go past it, but they can't come out under their own force going back the other way. And I think also this band kind of also acts as a bit of a hop up rubber, if you like, in that it adds a bit of spin and variation to the BBs. Obviously it's not like your hop up rubbers in your AEGs and snipers and things where it's, you know, it's really helping with accuracy and stuff. The BBs are coming out of here with such force that they're kind of scattering really, but nevertheless that's kind of the principle. But yeah, that changing those O-rings over, and I've done that with all of this style, it's made a big difference and stops it from allowing them to fall out so much, having a nice tight O-ring on it. So yeah, that's kind of it really in terms of servicing your grenades. There's not a lot to it. Keeps them in tip-top shape, and it's worth changing O-rings and things like that over a period of time just to make sure that they're all up and running and working. So yeah, thanks for watching.